try to invoke auspiciousness. Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Redefining success is the topic for this evening. And to begin, I'll ask you a very simple question. If I had a bank, I don't, just an example, and I came to you canvassing for some deposits, and I assured you with all the emphasis at my command, please put your money in my bank, and I assure you the bank's going to fail. Are you going to put your money in my bank? No. The answer is so obvious that you didn't even bother saying yes. Well, let's take it another way. Let's say I had a boat and you wanted to cross the river. And I said, please hop onto my boat. And I assure you that this boat will capsize midway because it's got a hole. Please step in to my boat. Will you step in? Of course, no. Why am I giving these examples? Because that is precisely what we are doing in this world. How so? This body that we have, which naturally we are so attached to, for which we take so much pain, whose every desire we try to fulfill, who we pamper day and night with all sorts of good food, good resting facilities, good clothing, etc. This very body, which also gives us so much pain, gives us disease, gets old, and ultimately dies, we are investing everything into this body. And the whole world functions according to this idea. This body is very valuable. And by body, I also mean the subtler aspects of the body like the mind, the intelligence. The ancient Indian text Bhagavad Gita also recognizes the mind and intelligence to be a part of the body, but they are subtle parts of the body. Modern science visualizes the mind and intelligence as being part of the physical brain. And modern medical science understands thoughts, emotions, feelings, etc., as being merely electrochemical reactions and processes going on within the brain, the firing of neurons and this and that. But from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that the mind and the intelligence are very subtle. They're not gross, tangible things like the brain or the rest of the body. In any case, we all think that we want to get pleasure for this body, for this mind, and for this intelligence. So depending on where we are in life, we imagine success to be what will give us the maximum pleasure, the maximum satisfaction. If I'm more rooted in the bodily concept of life, meaning that I understand myself to be this body, physical body, then I will give a lot of emphasis to physical pleasure and to everything that can bring me that physical pleasure. Whether it is good clothing, whether it is good food, or any other form of physical pleasure. And then my standard of success will be calculated according to how much I have been able to achieve that. If I'm at a slightly different level, let's say the level of the mind and intelligence, especially of the intelligence, then I might construe success as being some kind of intellectual pursuit. Let's say I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm a philosopher, I'm a scientist, or I want to crack some mystery in some philosophical issue or some branch of knowledge. So I feel it's success to be able to do that. So depending on whether we think we are the body, the mind, the intelligence, etc., we have our own definitions of success. And therefore, motivational speakers will often say, chase your dream. Yes, you hear that slogan sometimes? Find your own dream in life, or find your own meaning or purpose in life. So chasing a dream, unfortunately, perhaps it's not realized how true is the words they're saying. It is indeed a dream. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, we are told that we are not these bodies. We are not the mind. We are not the intelligence. We are eternal spiritual sparks. We are spiritual souls. Actually, we have nothing to do with this body. Somehow or the other, that eternal spiritual spark, in Sanskrit called the Atma, is trapped in this material body. And because we identify due to ignorance with this body, mind and intelligence, so we forget our eternal spiritual identity. Real happiness, real success lies in identifying ourselves as spiritual entities, not as material entities. And then in acting on that platform. Sometimes people ask us, what is your definition of spirituality? Well, spirituality is a process of trying to understand one's own true identity and then acting on that platform in pursuance of that understanding. So we are the spirit souls. So if our knowledge is based only on matter, we will have one understanding of success, and that's the general understanding in the world. But if we have a spiritual understanding of life, of our identity, then our goal of life will be different. And then our measure of success will also be different. Just before coming here, I Googled a bit. Some confession. And do you know what I Googled for? Successful people who commit suicide, who committed suicide. And I was surprised to see such a long list. I didn't have the time to go through the list because I had to hurry to come here. And I listed down a few names. Yeah? Shall I read them out for you? Not that I'm taking pleasure in it, but it's just a fact that is unfortunate, actually. There's such a long list. I'll tell you just 5 or 6, maybe 7, 8 names. Robin Williams, a great, a very famous comedian, humorist, brought smiles and laughs into the lives of many people. But there's a difference between humor and happiness, you know. If someone cracks jokes and makes people laugh, it doesn't mean that one becomes happy just by laughing at jokes. So there's a difference between humor and happiness. So here's someone who brought humor into people's lives. And perhaps the people who were laughing at his performances felt they were happy. But even they were not happy, neither was he. Happy people don't commit suicide. And let's go back to the olden times. Cleopatra of Julius Caesar fame. Eratosthenes, a famous Greek mathematician. Le Corbusier, the famous architect. Marilyn Monroe, famous film actress, known for her lies in with John F. Kennedy. And then I came across an interesting entry called the Mysterious Club of 27. Have you heard of it? This is a group of rock stars, rock music stars in the 60s, maybe 70s also, all of whom died primarily of drug overdose at the age of 27. All of them died at 27. And there was some music star who died just a few years ago, maybe 1 or 2 decades ago, at 27, and it is widely perceived that he wanted to join this club. So he also committed suicide at 27. And there are names. I don't listen to rock music, but I just want to tell you what I read from the internet before you start saying things. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and some others, and many others. Some painters like Van Gogh, and writers like Ernest Hemingway, and many, many others. They include artists, sculptors, painters, writers, poets, philosophers, intellectuals, film stars, music stars, industrialists, all sorts of people who have attained unrivaled fame in this world and success. I will share with you one personal experience I had of a friend from my school days. He was brilliant, always the topper in class. He was really brilliant. Passed out of school, he was the topper in the entire country, if not the state. We were together also in 2 years, just before university. And then he went into one of the most prestigious technical universities in India. In the first year, he topped because this was an elite university, so you had the best brains coming there, the toppers from everywhere coming there together, and he topped in the first year. In the second year, he came second, and he hung himself. In his hostel room, there was a fan, a ceiling fan. He hung himself in the hostel room because he couldn't take it. Now, second, standing number 2 in that kind of group was some achievement, but it wasn't enough for him. He was successful all through, but he was miserable because not only did he come second, but there was this enormous pressure that he had to remain number 1. There are various studies that people have done about why successful people commit suicide. And psychologists have come up with many answers. One of them is the pressure to remain successful. Another is the pressure to make it look as if it's so easy and it's effortless. I'm just like that. Whereas there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of pain and sweat and blood that goes behind it. But the idea you want to show that it's just easy for me to be successful. And there are many other reasons. Often, successful people, by successful I mean materially successful people, commit suicide because they're not happy with their achievements, they're restless. They're dissatisfied in spite of gain and success. So obviously there's a difference between accomplishment and real success. You see, if you look at a dictionary, success is defined as the accomplishment of a